Welcome to Coffee Talk with Liquidshano 1973, an inspirational podcast about the ups and downs of life and everything in between. Here's your host, Shane Lakita.
Hey guys, welcome aboard. Welcome back to another episode of Coffee Talk with Liquidshano 1973. Listen, I'm your host, Shane Lakita, and I'm back with you again with another episode of this podcast. I'm here with you. I'm back for another week, back to back. It's pretty amazing to me that I've found the bandwidth to be able to at least have a couple episodes with you, to sit down and have a conversation. It's so therapeutic for me. It's so mindful for me. It really, really helps me get myself in the right frame of mind, in the right place, thinking the right way, thinking the right direction, and doing the right things. So welcome back, guys. Welcome back to another episode. Hopefully your week has gone really well. Hopefully your Father's Day this last weekend was fantastic, whether you're a dad or you're a mom who is a dad or a grandfather or whatever, or you just celebrated with fathers and grandfathers that were out there. Hopefully it was safe and it was sound and it was amazing. And you guys were able to go out and do some really, really great things. And part of the podcast today is going to be around reflection as a father and those kind of things. So first of all, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up. I'm out back. I'm in my backyard today, so I've got a little bit of a breeze. So if you guys hear a little bit of wind or anything like that coming in with the podcast, hopefully it doesn't interfere with any of your listening or any of your sounds that you're hearing. I've got the noise canceling stuff going on around me, but I just really wanted to be able to record outside. It was me and the elements and those kind of things. So it's a way for me to be able to just get my head in the right frame of mind. So again, hopefully your weekend was great. Hopefully it was fantastic. I've heard a lot from a lot of people that the temperature has been absolutely atrocious. A lot of places throughout the country in the hundreds, where you're frying eggs on sidewalks and you're putting sunscreen on SPF 7000, because right now that sun's beating down and baking everybody across the land. Up here where I'm from, up here in Maine, we haven't had any of those really extreme temperatures. We've had a couple days in maybe the low 90s, upper 80s, but most of our temperatures are between 75 and 85 degrees, no humidity. This is the greatest time to live in Maine and the greatest time to visit, because it's just so absolutely stinking beautiful up here. So, okay, so hopefully again this weekend was great for you. Hopefully you went out and did some really, really great things. Maybe you filled your cup a little bit. Maybe you spent some time with some loved ones. You did some things that you wanted to do with family or friends or anybody like that, or just celebrated in people that you wanted to celebrate in and do some positive things. So there's a couple things I want to go over on this podcast, and there's a couple different dynamics that I want to get into. So the first thing I want to do is the main topic of this podcast is going to be all about making sure that we are doing things that make us proud of ourselves, right? So at the end of the day, when we're trying to grind through, we're trying to be able to work on things, we're trying to be able to just put one foot in front of the other. And at the end of the day, how often are you talking down to yourself? How often are you allowing negative thoughts to be able to just rummage through your head? How often are you accepting those negative thoughts as being the reality and accepting those things as being truth to you? And the reason that it made me think about this is because I was thinking of myself as a father this weekend as we celebrated in Father's Day. And I was going throughout the whole dynamic, and I actually posted a couple videos about this. And I was talking about how I don't really necessarily need anything celebration-wise for Father's Day. I don't need to be put on a pedestal. I don't need you to celebrate me. I don't even need you to buy me a card or anything like that, because I really do just want to be proud to be a dad. And I want to set the right example for my young kid, and want to make sure that my son Gavin has the right framework and the right goals and the right morals and values to go throughout life and just be a good person and give back to others and invest in the people that he loves, and really lives in this space of this positive realm. And I want to make sure that I live in that space. And one of the things that I thought to myself was, how do I talk to my son? I know I want to be an example to my son, and I know I want to be somebody that leads by example, but how do I talk to my son? I talk to my son with care. I talk to my son with maybe some stern attitude sometimes when he does something wrong or he needs to learn a lesson or anything like that. But most of the time it's with love, all layered in there from top to bottom, from everything that we're trying to be able to do, where I encourage him to get good grades, or I encourage him with whatever he's doing. He's working jobs. He's doing all kinds of stuff. He's just getting his license, all these things. And I always think to myself, how do I talk to my son? Because these conversations are going to be super important as he progresses and he gets older and as he ages, and then he starts to have kids on his own and he starts to get married or whatever it is that his life has in store for him. I always want him to have a compass or a barometer that he knows that whatever he is doing, he's always knows what the right thing to do, or at least what the right thing should be done is being done. So for me, I always am cognizant of how I'm talking to my son and how I'm able to lift him up and encourage him. Now, I've talked about this on the podcast before, and one of the things that I always talk about is that how do we talk to ourselves in this journey that we're trying to live? So if you're trying to lose weight, how are you talking to yourself? If you're trying to run marathons, how are you talking to yourself? If you're trying to go to work, or you're trying to be able to get a promotion or move up in the realm of a professional environment, how are you talking to yourself? Are you building yourself up with encouragement? Are you layering in positive reinforcement? Are you encouraging yourself? Are you lifting yourself up? Or are you living in that space where a lot of people live in, where it's all about negative aspects? It's all about how it feels to be able to, go out there and do it. And then we start to beat ourselves up. We start to have these conversations with ourselves where it's just not very nice. And we're like beating ourselves up. We're berating ourselves. We're beating ourselves down. We're doing all these different stuff that literally would not be the way that I would talk to my son, and not be the way that I would talk to my family, and not be the way that I would want to encourage anybody else in the world. But what do? I do it to myself all the time. How often is it that I have to correct myself when I'm sitting back and I'm saying to myself, okay, I'm really working hard. I'm diving in. I'm really digging in to be able to be the best version of me, to continue to drive things home, to continue to do things that I need to do, to be a positive influence on the world and people around me. And it takes hard work, and it takes energy. And listen, if anybody thinks it's easy, it's not. It's not easy to put a smile on your face and have a positive attitude about things. It's easier to have a negative attitude. It's easier to fall in place with all these other people that are in this place of the world's out to get me. It's crushing me down. It's all these different things. And we live in this environment where it's just so easy to sit back and just fall into the muck and the mire and the negativity and all that stuff. And it takes work, and it takes dedication, and it takes hard work, and all these things that we're trying to be able to do. It takes focus. It takes persistence. It takes patience to be able to be in the positive realm that you want to be in. So what I always try to be able to bring to people is I always try to tell people, you need to start to be an advocate for yourself. You need to start to compliment yourself. You need to start saying to yourself, okay, you know what? I know how hard this really is. I know how difficult it is to be able to do the things that I want to do. I know how difficult it is to go against the grain of my family members who are negative naysayers, or the ones that are coming at you with all these different negatives, or they're political and they're trying to break you down politically, or they're trying to break you down morally, or whatever. And even if they're not really trying to break you down, they're just trying to be able to have a conversation or give you tough love, but it still doesn't add any value to your conversation or your equation. But you still have this uphill climb that you have to meet every single time that you're trying to be able to make a positive influence, because the natural part of society is nobody wants to hear that. People think you're weird. People think you're strange. They think you have three eyes. They think all these different things of people that are naturally positive. And as a matter of fact, then they start to label some of the more positive individuals that are out there, whether on social media or on podcasting or whatever, as toxic positivity, as this place of nobody can be positive all the time. Nobody can, you don't have to be positive all the time. Why don't you be a realist and all these things? And as many of you know on this podcast, I do pattern myself after being a positive realist, because I am somebody that knows when the crap hits the fan and when life starts to deal you the lemons, it really does stink. And sometimes you just have to sit and wait it out a little bit before you can start to push forward with the smile and the hugs and all that stuff. But every single thing that I do, even if I have to wait it out or anything like that, always has the lining of I'm a positive influence on people. I want to make a positive impact on people, and I'm going to keep on moving forward. So like I opened this podcast with, how am I as a dad that wants to be a positive influence on my son and wants to be able to make sure that he feels encouraged and he feels like he can do whatever it is he sets his mind to. And he feels like he's in this place where he knows that I have his back and he knows that I'm going to lift him up and I'm going to encourage him. And he knows that at times I'm going to knock him off that pedestal a little bit to be able to keep him grounded a little bit and not to get too flighty, because this is where we're at. But there's a balance to that. And I would never be disrespectful. I would never be rude. I would never be inconsiderate. I would never be unkind. I would never be aggressive, like super, super aggressive. But how many of those words that I just talked about are you doing that to yourself? How many of you are disrespectful to yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror? How many of you look at yourself in the mirror and you say to yourself, I'm fat, I'm overweight, I'm disgusting, I'm gross, I don't fit into these clothes, COVID really it made me add weight, my spouse isn't attracted to me anymore, I'm on the single scene, I can't pick up any girls or guys because I'm disgusting and I'm gross and all these different things. How many of you live in the space of the negative words of what you're looking at when you look at yourself in the mirror and you literally continue to berate yourself and you are rude and inconsiderate to yourself? And where you think that it's natural, you think that it's okay to do so because this is just me talking to myself. I'm not talking to anybody else. This is just me talking to me. Where I feel as if that has more damage in life than any other person that you might be talking to. Because if you're talking to somebody else, yeah, you might be mean or you might be rude or you might be inconsiderate and, and you can kind of brush it off or you can go about your day. But when you talk to yourself that way, that has long-term implications. That has a long-term impact on you and the things that you're trying to do. If you're trying to be a positive influence, whether you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to do whatever it is, you literally have to be in the space that you have to believe in yourself. And you have to start to give yourself positive affirmations or some sort of encouragement that is required in life for us to be successful. When you're at work or you're in sports, let's start off with work. When you're at work, and you're grinding and you're busting your tail and you're doing everything you have to do. You show up to work on time every single day. You even show up 15 minutes early for every one of your shifts. You help every customer that comes in the door, or you meet all your report deadlines. You do everything that's necessary for you to be successful. You are a hard worker. You never argue against, you never go against the grain. You never do anything to rebut against the system. Even if Tommy Corporate up there says you need to do certain things a certain way, you do it with a smile on your face and you continue to push forward because you're a hardworking, morally sound individual that's going to do what it takes to continue to fight the good fight and continue to move forward. Now, as you move forward in that space, how nice is it every once in a while when you can hear from your boss or from a coworker or somebody that looks at you and just takes the time to say, you're awesome. You're amazing. You work hard. You inspire me. You meet your deadlines. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your dedication. Thanks for your loyalty. All these little words that you hear in those moments, more often than not, we're surprised by and we love every time that we hear. And the reason probably is because we don't hear it enough. We don't hear the compliments enough. We don't hear the affirmations. We don't hear the positivity. We don't hear all that stuff enough in society in general. So when you do hear it, it's kind of a shock to the system, isn't it? Like when we hear somebody compliment us, and then what do we normally do when somebody compliments us? What do we do as human beings? We get defensive. We start to say, "Oh yeah, but that's okay. I'm just working. I'm just doing what I have to do. This is just what I do. Thanks so much. Okay, great." And we just brush it off and we keep walking on instead of actually parking in that space for just a moment and saying, "Damn, I'm pretty good at that. I want to celebrate in that, and this is me, and I'm amazing." You see, words matter. Words matter, encouragement matters, all these things matter. And the way you treat yourself is a direct reflection over the way you're going to live your life. I believe that wholeheartedly. If you treat yourself like crap, guess what? 9 times out of 10, you're going to feel like you're going to fail, or you're going to feel like nothing's going to go right, or you're going to feel like you are that piece of crap that you're treating yourself like. And so no matter how big of a victory you may have, or no matter what you're doing to be in a positive space, guess what? You're back right where you were before, because now you're looking at it going, man, you know what? I I don't know if I can do this. I didn't do it good enough. I completed the job, but it's not really all that great, or Johnny Joe down the road here did so much of a better job, or I wonder if they even like me here or anything like that. And if you can't start off on your own thinking to yourself, how can I be a positive influence on myself? Then a lot of times you're not going to be able to take all those other ones from other people anyway. So you got to start off by looking at yourself and treating yourself like you would right when I opened this podcast, like I treat my son. I treat my son with love, respect, adoration, admiration. I treat him as a friend, but I also treat him as a dad, and we build a bond, and we can talk about pretty much everything across the board, which is a great thing to do. A lot of 16-year-olds will not do that with their parents, but we have taught this from a very young age to make sure that we are talking about the way that we feel. And if I'm talking to him with those types of terms like love and adoration and admiration, why am I not talking to myself that way? How come? Right? Here's a great example. Ready? Okay, so as many of you know, I started a new job very recently. I kind of went through the whole spiel on the last podcast where I talked about how I had to go find a new job, and I wasn't really looking in the space of printing and stickers and labels and brochures and all this different stuff like Dunder Mifflin and Michael Scott on Dunder Mifflin, right? I didn't even think about even going down that direction, but it stumbled in my lap where I got paid a little bit less, but I do feel good about what I'm doing, and I'm learning a new trade. I'm learning all this stuff. But here's the thing. I'm doing a really good job. I'm doing a great job. I've come up with new systems. We've come up with new tracking systems. We got new work order systems. We got ways to celebrate whenever we complete work or complete jobs, all this different stuff that wasn't there before. And they were just kind of swinging and going about their business, a successful business, yet it wasn't organized. So since I've been there for the month that I've been there, we've come up with all these different steps and procedures in place to be able to put it in place. And what is the one thing I kept telling myself? I wonder if they like me, and I wonder if I'm adding value to their business. Damn well knowing that I am adding value to the business, that I'm bringing tools and resources to the table that's helping them to be more profitable, but also run the business and stay sharp and be able to hit goals and do all these different things, all the while cutting costs on certain things and whatever else. But I don't give myself credit. I literally would tell myself, I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I can really move into this new industry and be able to deliver on that and be able to move things forward. And then I start to sell myself short over and over again. And then when my boss, as I was sitting down with him, I mentioned it to him. I said, well, I hope that I'm bringing something to the table for you. He said, hope? What do you mean hope you're bringing something to the table? It's been a pleasure having you here. It's been a pleasure seeing you coach these people. It's been a pleasure having you work side by side with them. It's been a pleasure watching you grind it out. When a job needs to get done, you just jump right in and don't hesitate. You're not a leader that leads from above, but you lead side to side. All these different things that I know about myself and I believe about myself and that I preach about myself and I continue to move forward are all the things that he brought up. But guess what? I wasn't saying it to myself. I had to hear it from somebody else. I know that I'm a hard worker. I know that I'm a good communicator. I know that I can work side by side with somebody. I know that I lead by example. And I know that I'm in the trenches with whatever. I've always been that way. But I never, ever give myself credit for the great things that I do in life. The great things I do in communication. The great things that I do. How come I'm afraid to talk to people about a successful podcast? Or how come I'm afraid to talk to people about social media and being on TikTok and all these things? Because of their judgmental eyes or the way that they may look at me? No, be proud of the things that you are doing. Treat yourself like you would treat your child. This is something I have to tell myself. I have to treat myself more like I would my own son. I would not look at my son and say, I don't think you're good enough. I would not look at my son and say, I don't think you have the skills to be able to move that forward. I don't think you add value. I don't think you do all these things. I would never, ever tell my son that, nor my wife or anybody that I love and care for. And there it is. I just used the word love and care for. The problem is, I think that we don't love and care for ourselves enough. I think that we, at the end of the day, don't love ourselves the way we love others. I think we are our own worst critics. I think we beat ourselves up. I think we look at ourselves and we degrade the things that we are and who we are as a person and the things that we believe in and the things that we want to fight for. Because we're afraid of failure, because we've been taught this way. We've been told that, sell yourself short because if something happens in the long run, you won't hurt as bad if you fail or you fall on your face or somebody comes after you with whatever. Or whatever it is that we've been positioned and patterned for. At the end of the day, we're selling ourselves short. We should be proud of who we are. We should start to love ourselves. So I've totally gone a different direction on this podcast. I've totally gone a different direction. It's all about self-love, and it's all about, do you love yourself? I love my kid more than anything in the world. I love my family more than anything in the world. I love my dog more than anything in the world. But do I rank myself up there as high as those? No, I don't. And you know what? It's funny because I've seen the videos that people have said, hey, name 10 things that you love. 10 things that you love. And people will go through going, I love my husband. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love my dog. I love my car. I love my house. I love my life. I love my family. I love my job. I love all this stuff like that. And then at the end of the conversation, they always say, and where in there did you say, I love me? And most people step back and they go, wow, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even rank myself high enough on that list to even think about loving me. Why is that? Why are we in a place that we hate ourselves so much? Why are we in a place where everything that we're fighting for and the things that we're trying to do in this short amount of time that we have on the earth, we beat ourselves up to a pulp? Why do we do that? Why do we let ourselves live in this space of negativity and self-pity and loathing of who we are and the things that we're trying to be able to do because of what societal norms are or what people might judge you as being or whatever reason? For whatever reason, we're living in this place where we just don't give ourselves enough credit. We don't love ourselves enough. We don't tell ourselves enough affirmations and compliments. It really opened my eyes. Just talking to you right now, you have no idea how therapeutic this has been for me already. Just in 25 minutes already on this podcast? Because I thought to myself, coming off of Father's Day, a holiday weekend, and we're sitting down talking about love, and we talk about care, and we talk about admiration and adoration and accountability, and being able to move forward in a positive space and believing in yourself. How many of you actually believe in yourself? I want you to really think about this. I want you to think to yourself, one, as per this podcast, I want you to think to yourself, do I love myself? Do I love me? Am I in a space where I love who I am? I can almost guarantee you, I'd say about 75 to 80% of you are going to say, no, I don't. Because that's the way society trains us. That's who we are. That's who we are as people, as humans, and whatever else. We live in this space where we don't even love our own selves. And the second thing is I want you to ask yourself the question, whatever it is that your goals are, whether they're professional, whether they're personal, whether they're weight loss related, whether they're, whatever it is that you're trying to work on, I want you to think to yourself, do you believe in yourself and do you believe you can accomplish it? Because if you answer no, just like you did with the I love myself or do I love myself question, we're setting ourselves up for failure 100%. These are the two things that we have to work on the most with ourselves. Our own internal windings and our own internal conversations that we have with ourselves. We need to keep those front and center. Do I love myself and do I believe I can accomplish the things that I want to accomplish? Now, if you answered no to do I truly believe I can accomplish it, now I'm going to ask you why. And I want you to write these things down. I want you to take a piece of paper. I want you to write down, do I believe I can accomplish X? Whatever X is, right? Do I believe I can accomplish I don't know, becoming debt free, or do I believe I can find love, or whatever it is. And if you put whatever that term that's important to you, that you want to be able to accomplish, your goals that you're setting for yourself, when you ask yourself, do I believe I can do it? Now I want you to write down the whys you think you can't. Because this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the gravy is layered all over the potatoes. Because here's the thing. Once you start to believe in yourself, and once you start to say to yourself, okay, you know what? I can do this. I've got this. I'm a rock star. I can kick some ass and do everything I need to do. Let me get on that. Let me go ahead and make sure that this is going to happen. Your whole life changes immediately because your mindset changes. If you start to believe in yourself, then you really, truly start to change your mind about the things you're trying to be able to accomplish. And you get right out of that negative, gross sludge that we tend to live in all the time in our lives, more so in our adult lives. And we're sitting there trying to trudge through. We're trying to put one foot in front of the other. We can't move forward. We can't break free. There's no speed to anything that we're doing. We feel like we're just trekking through cement and we're stuck. Because we don't believe in ourselves, and at the root core and at the root cause of everything, we also don't love ourselves, or we don't care about ourselves enough, or we literally despise what we're seeing when we look at ourselves. Now, listen, it's much easier said than done, and as a matter of fact, most people go to psychologists and people to get help, to lay on the black couches, to be able to have the conversations around why I don't love myself and why I self-loathe, or why I have these baggage things that are going on in my life, whether I grew up with a good family or a bad family, whatever it is. I have resentment towards people. I have all these things. It's so much harder than just saying the words that are out there. But these are the frameworks of the things that we have to come to the table with. And if you are going to get help and you are having conversations with a psychologist or a psychiatrist or whatever it is, somebody that's medically trained, not just a podcaster, right? But if you're literally looking at yourself and you're making these lists of, do I believe in myself? And you say, no, I really don't. Well, why? And now you're listing out the reasons why you don't believe in yourself. And then you ask yourself, do I love myself? And if you say no to that, now you can really have a framework of something to actually go get the help that you necessarily need, to sit down and say, how can I start to love myself more? And how can I start to believe in myself more? Is it because of a traumatic relationship in the past? Is it because of a family upbringing? Is it because of just the negative energy that you might have all around you? Is it because society tells you that? Whatever the reasons are that you don't love yourself and you don't believe in yourself, those are the things you have to start to get in front of. Now, I speak to you like that because these are the things that I have to get in front of. I'm my own worst critic. I'm going to see my good buddy, John, the Mud Hustler, Giordano, this weekend. And then I'm going down to visit my stepmother down in Massachusetts. So I'm leaving on Friday. I'm going down until Saturday night. First thoughts to my brain. I gained a lot of weight during COVID, right? Gained about 45 pounds, I think it is total, out of the 100 that I lost at one time. And I've gained weight, and I'm feeling really poor about myself, and I don't really look all that great. And he's going to judge me, and he's going to look at me, and he's going to think poorly of me, which is absolutely not what he's going to do. He's going to give me a big hug, and he's going to say, it's so damn good to see you. But my own worst critic, my own demons that I battle with inside of my head, the internal Shane inside of me that literally looks at myself and derails my whole entire trajectory, sits there and tries to hold me back on all the things that I want to be able to accomplish in life in positive space, or trying to be able to accomplish really, really great things. I hold myself back because I'm my own worst critic. And then I start to beat myself up, and then I start to sell myself short. And then I start to be able to think of what other people's judgments are or decisions are or whatever based on what my own opinions of myself are. And then I start to judge them. And it's uncalled for and silly because I feel bad about myself, because I gained weight, because I might not have reached out as much as I should have, because I have all these inequities and these things that I feel are bad things that are going on in my life, when in all actuality, I'm still a loving individual. I'm a good dad. I'm a good husband and a good friend. I still record podcasts. I'm working hard. I'm doing everything I can to be able to continue to move forward in this space because I love it and it's a passion of mine and this is a direction I want to go in life. But then I sell myself short. Who am I to think I'm a podcaster? Who am I to think I can reach out to multiple people? Oh, look at my numbers. They're kind of low right now. I didn't get very many views or very many likes or follows or whatever else. And I start to berate myself again and degrade all the positive things that I try to do. So I share this from a perspective coming from me to you because I battle with this as well. It's not just you. We all do. We all battle it. But if you can ask yourself the two questions, the theme of this podcast is love. Do you love yourself? And belief. Do you believe that you can accomplish the things you're trying to accomplish? Because if you can answer those in a more positive fashion, where you start to then believe in yourself, you start to believe that you can accomplish the things you want to, you start to believe in positivity, you start to believe in love, you start to believe in yourself, and you start to then emanate that, and then people will see that all around you, and then guess what starts to happen? You then begin loving yourself. You start to love who you are. You start to love who you project. You start to love the positive end of things. You start to love who you are becoming every single day, like a butterfly. So focus on those guys. This week, think about those. Think about everything I was talking about here. Do you love yourself? And do you believe in yourself in a way that you know, no matter what it is, and no matter what you're doing, you can accomplish whatever it is you try to accomplish. Again, remember, I'm talking to my kid. So now imagine that I'm talking to myself in the mirror to say, you can do whatever you set your mind to because you're awesome and you're amazing and you're incredible and you're worthy. And I love you. And that's it. Have a great day, everybody. Much love to all of you. Appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Please do us a favor and leave feedback and a 5-star rating on whatever platform that you use.